Hey everyone, so off the back of yesterday's video on previewing Save Fleets, I had a sort of further idea of how we might use this to our advantage. Because at the moment, an individual player can save a fleet and then load their own fleets or load default fleets if they like, using the menu that existed already. But then I thought, well, what about if we wanted to load someone else's fleets? How could we do that? And we know how to ask the database for an ID of a fleet and get that loaded, but there was no way of doing that for IDs that weren't our own. So I've added this section here, and I'm just going to sort of quickly show you how to use it. First of all, you need to get a fleet ID. So a couple of ways you can do that. One, if you save a fleet and give it a name, you will get ID 50. It'll just tell you the ID. But if you forget that or you don't write it down, you can then check it here and you'll see there's ID 50 test, reload that, and it's the same Citycar carrier that I loaded before. So that's great. And you can see that in the fleet list, every fleet has its own ID. So if we loaded the Centauri fleet 35, that all comes up as you'd expect. And now in the new field, if we type 35, exactly the same fleet loads up. So it's essentially just making sure that the player knows what the IDs are and can now use them in this field. But we're still just uploading our own fleets. So what about other people's fleets? Well, I happen to know that 33 is a valid fleet ID. So if we do that, we get an upgraded bin tag that one of my alt accounts saved. And that's all loaded up perfectly fine, even though it wasn't on our list, as you can see. And that's basically how it works. You just share the ID with someone else, and then they can load the fleet. As fleets get deleted, though, not all IDs will be valid. So if we delete ID 50, it's now gone. It's also gone from the database, which means if I tried to load it, I would get the failed to load fleet. Fleet ID may not exist error. Indeed, it doesn't exist because I just deleted it. The other thing that can, of course, happen is you only have so many points in a game. So 726 points left here. Bin tech costs substantially more than that. So if I try to load a third one, no, you do not have enough points available. Here's how much you need. And it's basically that simple. And I'm thinking that this will be a good way of just like giving fleet ideas to people without having to do all the sort of manual labor involved. But also, if you had a scenario and you wanted your players to take a very specific fleet, well, just make it and give them the ID would be one way of doing that. All right, cool. Thanks, everyone.